Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA. My name is James Pettem and I'm coming to you live from our downtown Toronto studio today with Joanne Jobin, founder of the Mining Investment of the North. Joanne, it's great to see you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, upcoming conference, June 4th to June 6th in Quebec City. You were very excited to be a media partner this year. Let's wind back the clock a little. This is your third year in a row doing the conference. Paint a picture for us. What inspired you to found this event and why did you choose Quebec City?
All right. Well, those who know me know that I've been doing capital markets, IR, communications for a really long time. I mean, really long time. So, of course, I've been to many conferences and I always, admired my fellow conference conveners, the ones in Colorado and London. But I always thought, we're the mining capital of the world. Why don't we have one of these types of conferences here in Canada? So, about 5 years ago, really, I started asking a lot of mining companies, close friends, a lot of the big sponsors that we have, the BMOs and the Osiskos. And I'm like, if I started something like this, would you support it in Canada? And the answer was always a resounding yes. If you do something along those lines, we would support it. So, and then of course, COVID, we were just coming out of COVID. So I said, there's got to be a great spot to do it right after COVID. People are coming back out. We looked around for different locations and I knew that I had to have a world-class destination.
Yeah.
Because you look at what, Denver Gold does so well and Beaver Creek, BMO, we want to be recognized as that caliber of conference. So how do we do that? So Quebec City, to me, was a no-brainer. It's a World Heritage Site. And in fact, most of the large global companies have some sort of footprint in Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
And the Quebec government was like, we would love to be a sponsor of something like this in our own backyard.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
And so you're very much a global event, but Quebec government is a key partner at the conference. What can we expect in terms of the breakdown? Is it mostly Quebec companies, Canadian companies, ASX? What can we expect for this year?
So I always say it's all about Canadian mining. So if you're a TSX listed company and you have assets in Brazil, that's great. It's still Canadian mining. Now, if you're ASX listed, but your assets are in Canada or the US or whatever, that's great too. I'm going to say that 95% of our companies are also OTC or NYSE listed, which is great. But if you look at what the Quebec government has done and where they go, they're in London, they're in Australia, they're in Washington. They are, and they've basically said to me, make it as global as possible. Of course, there's a Quebec spotlight, but there's also a Newfoundland spotlight this year. We're working on a Yukon spotlight for the future. So we want, the mayor of Flin Flon is coming this year. So, we want it to be a truly Canadian investment conference that is going to become globally recognized. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's certainly an interesting proposition, and I think one that is gaining a lot of traction. The event has consistently grown year on year. For this year, what can people expect? Maybe from an investor perspective and an issuer perspective, what can we expect in terms of programming?
So we do have one large stage. We have three different tiers of our companies. So, the larger market cap companies have the privilege of being on stage. We have some incredible keynote speakers this year. We have a legends panel. We have a power panel with some of the most well-regarded women in the industry, along with some men on the panel this year. So it should get spicy. It'll be interesting. I like it. We just announced this morning that Jennifer Knight, the Deputy U.S. Secretary of the Commerce and Trade Department and Critical Metals, is going to be a keynote speaker. We've got the Minister of Mines for Quebec. We've got the Economy Minister of Quebec. And we're working on a few others that we think will come in. So, I can't say too much now, but there's a great opportunity for companies to speak or to take meetings in private one-on-one rooms. Each company gets their own private one-on-one room.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a big pull. I mean, I've been at a lot of conferences, and then it can be a little hectic running around, meeting to meeting. I mean, a lot of what we've seen, during difficult capital markets over the last few years, especially in the mining sector, is, lots of sellers, not too many buyers at these events. Lots of people kind of roaming the trade show floors of BDAC, and the meetings are often hard to book in or not as fruitful as people like. For your upcoming event, how are you attracting investors to it? And maybe how do you stand out from some of these other events that are happening globally?
Right. So the first year in 22, we had 80 investors. We had a small, it was half the size. The next year, we went from 50 companies to 108 and 180 investors. We are at 180 investors right now. So I expect there to be around 200. But, our pool of capital is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is kind of, those are the facts. I mean, you can't negate those. And attracting investors and funds to come is a matter of, I have to get on the phone. I have to talk to them. I have to, sell the conference and why they should come. So this year we've got quite a few Europeans that are coming, which I'm really thrilled about. We've got a number of funds that are coming, and they're signing up every day. We have a lot of high net worth individuals, which, let's face it, those are the people writing the checks these days, and the governments. So it's a really nice mix of investors for those issuers that are coming. And one thing that I really want to be clear about is that we, because I've been doing this for a really long time, it's really important to put the issuer and the investor first at these conferences. So we may end up with 110 to 120 companies this year, but out of that number, only 80 to 90 are qualified to take those one-on-one meetings. So we're going to have a really nice ratio for those.
Yeah.
The other companies are small caps. They're going into the lounge or they're coming on industry invites, and they can network. And that's another way that we stand out is we have amazing networking events. We have 5 networking events in 3 days.
Okay, great. Yeah, and interesting to see you restricting the number of companies you can take meetings. I think that is something we hear a lot. People get swamped with meeting invites, and tough to figure out who's worth actually taking the time out when these events are always jam packed.
Yeah, and I will say that we've also beefed up our team. Sorry. We've also beefed up our team so that we can make sure that we're taking care of everybody that need. Like, a lot of people will come to us and go, we don't know how to work this calendar, right? How do you do it? Mm-hmm. And we're like, let us show you, right? So we've beefed up our team in that respect as well.
Yeah, always important to have support, especially in person. You never know what can happen, and so great to have people on the ground.
We didn't expect to grow 100% in the last 6 weeks of last year's conference. We were a little overwhelmed at times. We thought we would grow by 20% over the next 4 years. 2020, like a reasonable growth plan.
Yeah.
Not 100 plus over 100% in our second year. So the markets are tough, but we've been able to, I believe, provide issuers and investors with a unique platform. And that's why we've been able to grow, even though it's been a really difficult sector.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that. It has been very difficult, especially in mining over the last few years. 2024, we've seen a pretty strong start for commodities, mixed bag for the equities. The issuers have seen, some of them have seen price appreciation, some of them have been kind of struggling and floundering still, even though they're exploring or developing for commodities that have gone up 10-20%.
Right.
What's sentiment in the camp like going into the upcoming investor event?
Well, definitely budgets are tight. and we've been working with people because we think it's important for them to get there. Um, but we haven't had, like, I'm going to say almost everybody who came last year is repeating.
Okay.
And we do have quite a few new companies based on our relationship. We have a lot of people that say, yeah, I heard that it's a great conference and we'd like to come. This year we have 15 of the billion-dollar market caps joining us. So which is what we wanted to do. We wanted to grow this so that it's a conference that's comparable to what Denver or BMO is doing. And the only way to do that is to have these large caps. And I've said to them, you're really not coming to this conference to have 40 meetings. I mean, you're going to meet with 10 people max that you want to meet with. And frankly, you can pick up the phone and meet with these guys wherever you want, right? Whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But you're really coming here to support Canadian mining and to support mining on the whole, because these are the guys that are also writing checks in some cases, as you know. So come, support, network, join in, go on stage, talk about your company, and support Canadian mining in your own backyard. So that's how we've gotten a lot of these companies here.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. And a lot of those large caps as well, we're seeing more M&A in the space now. The flip side of difficult capital markets is there's a lot of juniors and explorers at bargain basement prices.
Exactly. And so a lot of people are going to go shopping, right?
Yeah.
And we're perfectly placed for that. And right before summer, before everybody just kind of packs it up, and conveniently, I'd like to say I'm a genius, but I'm not. I just really got lucky right before the Grand Prix.
So we all need to come and go then.
Exactly. Last year, we were on the receiving end of the Grand Prix, and some of them were in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, worse for worse.
So, exactly. So this year, we can send them hungover to the Grand Prix, and they can just continue on.
So, just to wrap up, is there anything we haven't touched on that you think people need to know about the event? And what are you personally most looking forward to this year?
I think we may kind of like be still sitting on that 100. Maybe we'll grow by 10% or 20% this year. But what I'm most excited about this year is the maturity that this conference is showing. One of the things we didn't talk about was, we sponsor 50 students from across Canada. We have the student sponsorship. And this year that is being sponsored by Glencore and by Osisko Mining. And that is really, really important for the sustainability of the industry. I'm not going to be able to go out in the field and put a drill in the ground or anything else, but I can bring young people in and I can give them 3 full days, all paid. Mm-hmm. There's a program within a program for them. And it's a little conference within the conference. They're doing business case studies. They're meeting CEOs. They're doing meet and greets. They have master classes. So there's a lot going on with that.
Yeah.
And then we have our Chico initiative, which helps young women with their startups and their education. Last year, we cut our first check for $10,000, and we helped 3 young women from Afghanistan continue their education at UBC. So, I think these are really, really important things that I'm not seeing at other conferences being done.
Yeah,
so
a lot of talk and maybe not always the action to back it up.
Yeah, it's really great to have an ESG panel, but are you doing something about it? Are you doing something about sustainability? Like, what are you really doing?
Yeah, and especially talent entering the industry is a big problem. That could be a bit of a ticking time bomb. So great that you're supporting future generations.
Yeah, and it's and that's why I'm like, it's not always all about the money. We're 30% cheaper than any other conference out there. Our pricing is incredibly, well received. We give a lot for that. People get a lot out of the conference. And then, we have these great initiatives that we're supporting as well. That is important for the industry.
Great. Well, fantastic to hear all about the event. Looking forward to it myself and looking forward to supporting it through CEO.CA.
Great.
Joanne, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.